half a day. Inanhu se Michael Lujan Bevacqua. And I'm recording this for the Guam Council on from the International Literacy Association. Sidus Masi, na incombidadzu. Thank you so much for inviting me this month for Mes Chamoru. I'm unfortunately not able to be there, but I wanted to record a reading and a discussion around one of the books that I've written as part of the creative company that my brother runs, the Guam Bus. And so in addition to reading the book, which is a bilingual Chamorro English children's book that talks about sort of Karabaos in Guam history and in Chamorro culture, in addition to reading the book itself, I also just want to bring in some discussion points as well, because one of the things that I love about creating literature is the possibilities beyond sort of continuing the discussion or answering questions or getting into discussions after the pages, after you've run out of pages in the book. And so, so first off, we are going to be reading today Sumahi and the Karabao. Guahutumugiesti, I'm the one that wrote this. My brother Jack is the one who illustrated it. It was first published in 2015. We ran out and did a second printing in 2019, and we are blessed that we had to do a third printing in 2021, and we're almost to the point where we're going to have to do a fourth printing. And so this was our first bilingual Chamorro English children's book that our creative company, the Guam Bus, that it ever published. And it focuses, as I said, on Karabao stories from Chamorro culture and Guam history. And so the Guam Bus is, as I said, it is a family business. My brother Jack is the owner of it, and so he draws the things that we create. I write them, and then these are my two older children in this picture, Sumahi, who the book Sumahi and the Karabao is named for, and then Akli'i, who is now my middle child, who another book called The Adventures of Akli'i has been dedicated to. I have a third child, my youngest child, Lulai, and I've already written and the story for that. And what's exciting for me is sort of the passing on of the artistic sort of work, the creative work for the Guam Bus, is that Sumahi, my oldest child, has already done the illustrations for the book. And so for each of the children in the Guam Bus, we try to write a book in their honor. And so Jack had his first child just earlier this year in January. And so I've already started to write a story which will highlight his first child, Ziggy, who lives in Germany. And so the story will hopefully be that Ziggy is preparing and getting packed so that he can come and visit his family in Guam. And so the Guam Bus, you can see up there on the page, we do have a website, we have social media. You are very welcome to purchase our items. We have 3 bilingual Chamorro English children's books. We have 3 comics. We have 3 sets of flashcards, Chamorro language flashcards, and we have our top seller is, of course, the Guam Bus Bingo or Chamorro language bingo set. And so for those of you who are teachers, we do school visits, and you can definitely buy our stuff to put in your libraries, in your classrooms, and so on. All of the work that we do in the Guam Bus is dedicated to these 2. So these are our grandparents, me and Jack. These are our grandparents, our mom's parents. Elizabeth de Leon Flores, familia en Cabeza and Bitdut. Some people called her Auntie Bitbit. She was my grandmother. She was the one primarily who taught me how to speak the Chamorro language. And then our grandfather, Joaquin Flores Lujan, familia en Bitdut and Cabeza, Bitdut and Katson, excuse me, who also was known as Tunjak. He was a master of Chamorro culture for blacksmithing. And so these 2 represent the strongest connection that we have to our Chamorro culture. For me personally, they taught me so much. And so everything that we do is dedicated to keeping alive the heritage that they first got me interested in learning about. And so since today's book is going to be about carabaos, a first question, something to sort of get your brain juices flowing. Do you have any Carabao stories in your family? If we were in person live, then I would go around and I would ask if you have any Carabao stories that you would want to share. Some people maybe have had Carabaos when they were younger. Some people may have Carabaos now. Some people may have never ridden a Carabao. Some people may have stories where they've fallen off a Carabao. Whatever, if you have any Carabao stories, please feel free to share. Okay, let's get into the book itself. Every Wednesday, Sumahi visits Mr. Uggan's Karabao at the Chamoru village and goes for a ride or two. Kada Merkules si Sumahi habisita igat tun Uggan Karabao gi isang sung Chamoru zan mauday gui un biyahe pados. Estigi si Sumahi biba. The Karabao is named Etsung. Sumahi loves taking rides on him because he always has such great stories to tell. Most Carabaos are stuck in fields, but not Etsung. I Karabao, inaanya si Etsung, sa si Sumahi dzanya mauday gidzagwitza. Fihu hasangani guigof mauleg na istorya siya, mas megay na Karabao siya mengay gigigwalo, lo ahi si Etsung. A note, Sumahi here, hoy. He always welcomes Sumahi with a happy half a day and shares with her some story about Carabaos and their life on Guam. Guidza todo tiempo magofas Sumahi, sa ileknya nu guidza half a day, sa hasangani si Sumahi historia siya, puri Carabao, zan ilanat laniha, kidza guahan. Half a day? Sumahi heard about the first Carabaos who came to Guam, the Tao family. They were brought to the island from the Philippines to plow farmers' fields. Si Sumahi hahungok, purifinetna na Carabao ni man matu gidzaguahan, I familian Tao. Ni manafan matu guahan ginini Filipinas, pero ualado igualo I lanceru siha. Note here, the Philippines, and of course, the Carabao probably didn't fly here. But we put them on a boat once, but I think they look cuter with their wings. Sumahi heard about Kilili, who was either the least or most lucky Carabao on Guam. Long ago, a powerful typhoon swept Kilili into the air and carried him all the way to Rota. He returned to Guam a month later, claiming he had swam home. Si Sumahi hahungok put si Kilili, isinya imasweti parimas taisweti na Carabao gidzaguahan, atmam na tiempo, un gof metgot na pagso, hakoni si Kilili gi airi hasta luta. Después de un mes, habirigwitati, gidzaguahan sa ileknya na munyango guitation. Oh, wow. Sumahi heard the story of how the Carabao and the cow accidentally switched their skins while bathing. As a result, the skin of the Carabao is very tight and the cow's skin is very loose. Si Sumahi hungok I historia put hafatay manu I Carabao zaniguaca umatulaika I lasas niha and I umotmak I dos. Poradzu I lasa si Carabao gof mafnyut zani lasa si guaca gof kalu. Atan si Sumahi. Look at Sumahi. I like the touches here to the bathing Carabaos that Jack put in there. Sumahi heard the story of Nanu, a small but courageous Carabao who helped Sumahi, the Lemay princess, defeat Amang, the king of the Azuzu. Si Sumahi hahungok I historia Nanu, undiki kilo, taima atnyaw na Carabao, ni ha-Azuda si Sumahi, I princesan Lemay, and I ha-ikak si Amang, Irai Azuzu. This Carabao here is the cutest thing ever. Atanestina ditzitzing na Carabao. Look at that cute little Carabao. Rawr. Sumahi heard the story of Ramon, a poor little Carabao who was taken to San Diego after World War II and put on exhibit in the zoo there. Si Sumahi hahungok I historian Ramon. Una masid ang dikikin na Karabao ni Maconio para San Diego después de champon sapones Gidzaguahan. Mana anok gui gifan gagaan. At the nesty, look here. The Karabao stuck in the zoo. 21 zugi presu. If you're familiar with the Chamoru song, then you understand why that might be a little bit funny. One thing you should know about my brother Jack is he always puts in little what the young people call Easter eggs, little things that you can spot. So, for example, atenesticia, no feeding the animal, no eating the animal. In case you're wondering, my brother Jack is a vegan, so he put that in there because he always puts pro-vegan messages into things. Sumahi heard the story of Lumi, the leader of the largest wild herd of carabao at Fena Lake, who was well known for having her herd ruin military training exercises taking place in the jungle there. Si Sumahi hahungok I historia put si Lumi, imagas imas donkulu na kadumen matsolik na carabao siya, gi hagoy Fena, ni maguftungo na hatogo I kadumenya, paru istotba I militat and I mantra training siha gi halam tono. I love this. I love that they have a marching band. And my brother Jack, when he was in high school, he played the trombone. So that's why this carabao is playing the trombone. Although this guy is super cute with the leading the way. Sumahi heard the story of Pikaru, a carabao from Tumuning who became infamous for sneaking into movie theaters just to watch cowboy movies. During one film, he made it all the way to the credits before anyone noticed. Si Sumahi hahungok I historian Pikaru, un carabao ginin tamuning ni matungo babanya, ni humaholam gi fanegaan para ega I mubin bakeru siya. Giduranten unu na mubi, esta paru fanadzen ang distio magatsagwe. Okay, I like how cute Sumahi looks here, drinking the big gulp drink. And then I like the idea of the carabao with the big bucket of popcorn. Sumahi heard the story of Pulan, a valiant carabao who in the darkest days of World War II on Guam helped round up hundreds of stray carabao and get them to safety away from the bullets and bombs. Si Sumahi hahungok I historian Pulan, un taimaat niyaw na carabao ni hanay mas peligro I haani siya gi champon sapones gi zaguahan, manadzuda komoni I mentay amu na carabao siya guatagi lugat and I tadzabala zan bomba siha. Estimagi, the carabao saying, this way. Sumahi heard the story of Maria, a carabao sidekick of Guam's 19th century folk hero, Juan Malu. Together, the two of them found an endless number of ways of making fools out of the Spanish on island. Si Sumahi hahungok per historian Maria, un carabao ni atungo Juan Malo, hiron Guahan, siha dos masoda hafatay mano para fatinas mega na pitkadiha contra Español ni mangaigi ki isla. I love the Zorro. So Juan Malo, sometimes they say he's kind of like the Chamoru Zorro. I love this. Oh, the carabao looks so cute in the little mask. Sumahi heard the stories of Romaldo, who in his day was so famous as the fastest carabao on island that he would travel from village to village for the fiestas and challenge carabaos everywhere to races. He was so fast that it was said he could outrun the slowest horse on island. Si Sumahi hahungok put si Romaldo, gi champot niya matungo na guidzay mas tsadig na carabao gidzaguahan. Sa humahan na para igiput zan fiesta siya gi isla, sa haagang otra siha para ufang carrera. Guf tsadig guid za masangan na guidza sinya ha ika ki mas nyating na kabadzu ki isla. And cross-cultural sort of stories here. I love how Jack put the tortoise and the hare next to the carabao with the sweatband. Sumahi heard the story of Jason, the carabao who was chosen by the Guam Visitors Bureau to be the model for all the painted carabao sculptures that you can find around island landmarks and businesses. Si Sumahi hahungok put si Jason, I carabao ni maaadzik, or ni maadzik ni Guam Visitors Bureau para modelon todo iman mafatinas zan mapenta na imahin Karabao ni unsot da gi importante na lugar zan sagan komachante gidzaguahan. After hearing her story for the night and riding around in circles for a few minutes, Sumahi's Karabao adventure is over. Después de ahunga ki historianya, gi puengi, zan mauday gi ridzan I sengsong Chamoru, manadzan I hinanaunya si Sumahi. Each week, once Etsung stops, she looks to her father with sad but cute eyes and always says the same thing. Kof malago zu esti na baobao. Kada semana, gigon pumara si Etsung, haaten si Tatanya ni pumenini tilo na magoday na mata siha sa todri champo pareo ha hasasangan. Kof malago zu esti na baobao. I really want this Karabao. And when Sumahi was young, she would actually say bao bao for Karabao. Usually her father laughs and says ahi, but tonight he smiles and says hungan. Sumahi's eyes light up as she imagines having her own Karabao and all the fun and exciting things she would do with it. Tenga si tatanya tsumaleka zaileknya ahi. No pagona puengi. Tsumaleka dididi zaileknya hungan. Imatanya si Sumahi mo matlak and I sigi di hahahaso nagwahamagahe nagatnya Karabao za todo I menagov siha sinyaha. Gathu baobao esti. This is my pet Karabao. At the nedzuna dikikina who get den Karabao. Thank you for listening to my story. Now, for the last part of this, we're going to do a few, because for me, as I mentioned before, the book is one thing, but the context for it and using it as a way to talk to our kids or our students, that's so important too. And so this story, interestingly enough, it began with a literal Karabao. So my oldest child, Sumahi, is turning 16 next month. But I was very young, loved to ride on Karabao. Loved to ride. And so this is actually from a few years, from last year. The Karabaos that inspired this are from Tunwan Agan, who has given Sumahi and my other child Akli'i many rides on his Karabaos over the years. And so I want to say Sidusmasi to him for being so giving of his time and sort of his stories as well. And so one of the things that's lovely about this is that if you know who I am, or if you know anything about me, I'm somebody who taught at the University of Guam for 10 years. I have a PhD. I have written many articles. I still write things. So one of the things that I love about writing children's books is the way that I can use things that I have learned in my research and find ways to still bring it into kids' books, to lead to conversations, right? To lead to sort of entice, sometimes inspire people to want to learn more. So for example, the story about a Karabao in the San Diego Zoo is completely true. And so in an academic article by Dr. Vince Diaz, he interviews the late Dr. Jeff Barcinas, who says that it was from his family that those Karabao that were taken to the San Diego Zoo, it was from his family that they came from, and that they were traded with some bulls from the United States in exchange. They used to do Karabao races, and sometimes they would do them in villages even after World War II. You can see here, this is a picture of a Karabao race in front of the San Jose Church. And the story about Karabao interfering with training in Fena is absolutely true. Now, they wouldn't walk through in a marching band style, but Karabao would block roads. They might sort of move through areas where they're trying to do exercises. And then one of the things that was mentioned that I found very funny is that they would use the bathroom and it would get in the way of training. Dispensación. And so what I always like to ask people is, what was your favorite Karabao depiction or adventure from the book? We had many different types of Karabao stories, some of them that are rooted in history, some of them are more legend, some of them are more fantasy, right? So which was your favorite Karabao story from the book? And why? Was it because you thought it was funny? You thought it was inspirational, educational? You thought it was silly? What made it your favorite? Hafa muna zamo en una historia. And so one thing that I like to ask is, after hearing so many stories about the Karabao, what does the Karabao symbolize? What does it represent? What words remind you of the Karabao, right? And so many people think of the Karabao as a symbol for the Chamorro people, right? An important symbol of Chamorro culture, right? There's many different ways that you can think about that. And then the Karabao has gone from a beast of burden to now something which is more about representing Chamorro culture in sort of a leisurely way, right? That you have Karabao rides. Love this. This is, I believe his name was, I'm trying to remember, see, Mr. Santos in Piti and Asan. And so he was famous for having his dog stand on top of the Karabao. And actually, for one of my kids' parties, he came by and he brought his Karabao and the dog standing on them. It was lots of fun. And so one of the things that's important when talking about the Karabao is also it's a way that we can talk about changes in society, right? So one of the questions is that Sumahi's grandparents and great-grandparents, or Sumahi's great-grandparents, excuse me, had Karabao. Why doesn't Sumahi have a Karabao today? How many people have Karabao in their backyards or on their ranches? And a further question, why don't people have ranches the way that they used to, right? And so the Karabao is an important way because it's been a symbol of life, a changing symbol, right? Going from something which had a very practical and real purpose to now being primarily a symbol, a symbolic symbol, that's kalingnatsalikano, but something which is not important necessarily because of the work it provides, but because of the connection to the past that it expresses, or because of it's just kind of fun and different, right? And so the Karabao is a great way because it's familiar, it's ubiquitous, right? Everyone is familiar, everyone has seen it, but it's a great way then to kind of talk about changes in our island. And so, as I said, this is what I love in terms of these types of kids' books, is that you can read them just to kind of, just directly for the stories themselves, just to have fun. But you can also use them to talk about some of the deeper issues. So in Sumahi and the Karabao, there's, for example, a mention of World War II, right? And World War II is a difficult time, and perhaps talking about the experiences of Karabaos who were abandoned on their ranches and then found their own way to create a wild herd, which is the one that lives down in Bubulao and Fena area today. That might be a way to talk about war experiences. Or the story of the cow and the Karabao and why their skins and appearances are different. This is a legend that is rooted in talking to people about expressing yourself and trusting each other, because the Karabao and the cow both remove their skins and they bathe together. And then once they're done, they realize after they put on their skins that they have the wrong skins. But instead of saying something about it, that they're uncomfortable or that they've made a mistake, they choose to say nothing and just put up with it and pretend that everything is okay, because they don't want to embarrass themselves or look bad or admit that they've made a mistake. So I always like that as a lesson to talk about a legend to talk about how we should express when we feel something. And so one final thing that I want to ask is, what makes Guam special to you and your family? What would you write about in a book, right? So the Guam bus and what we do is all just because I want to make children's books and I want to make stuff. This is not something where there's any profit involved. Whatever we make, we simply put it back into printing more things. And so really for me, this is that I have been blessed with hearing so many people's stories, being able to do a bunch of research, and then just trying to find ways to put that history, the knowledge about the culture, the Chamorro language itself out there out there in the world so that others can hear it, that it may benefit others as well. And so what would you put into a story? What would you put into a book if you had the chance? And finally, I did want to mention, because I get requests all the time for this. And so one reason why what I do, what we do at the Guam Bus is dedicated to my grandmother is because she is the one, as I said, who helped me learn Chamorro when I was a student at the University of Guam. And that I took Chamorro classes with Peter Onodera, but it was really my grandmother who would talk with me, correct me, guide me, take me to funerals, and connect me with others who could help me practice Chamorro. And so in honor of her, I continue to offer free Chamorro language classes to anyone who is interested in taking them. And so prior to the pandemic, these classes took place primarily at Java Junction in Hagåtña. Because of the pandemic, I moved them into Zoom, and I have kept them in Zoom ever since 2020. And so they take place every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 12:30, with each hour being a different level, right? So the first hour is for the Pudzitos, or the beginners. The next hour is for Podza, or beginners too. And then the last hour is for Tandan Punadera, which are near intermediate and intermediate speakers. And so if you are interested, please reach out to me. I'm happy to share the Zoom link with you. They take place every Saturday. And as I said, they are literally open to everybody. So family that's in the States, family that's in the Marianas, they don't have to be Chamorro. There's always around 10% of the students who participate who are not Chamorro, but are married to a Chamorro or are from Guam and simply want to know more about the native language of this island that they love and that they call home. And so because, one of the reasons teaching the Chamorro language, putting it out there, doing my part to help keep it alive, it's one of the reasons the Guam Bus exists. And so this is a free resource that I offer to everybody who is interested in it. Enoha para Pablo. That is it for me. I hope you found this book to be interesting or enjoyable. I hope the discussion was interesting or enjoyable. Si Diyos masitalo na in kumbidadzu and naizu estina oportunidad, inanhu si Michael Lujan Bevacqua. Adios. Este kimanet lihitalo.